If you are over 60, one small potato mistake may be raising your blood sugar after dinner without you noticing it. Not cake, not candy, not soda, a potato. Because many seniors still eat potatoes like a harmless vegetable, while the body often handles them more like bread, rice, pasta, or any other starch. And if you eat potatoes with bread, rice, gravy, crackers, corn, dessert, or a sweet drink, your blood sugar may climb much higher than you expect. I'm Dr. Claire Bennett. Today, I want to show you the safer way to eat potatoes after 60. Here is the rule right away. Do not eat potatoes as a free vegetable. Eat them as your starch. That means a small portion, cooked simply, preferably boiled or baked most of the time, eaten with protein and vegetables, and not stacked beside bread, rice, pasta, crackers, or dessert. A safer plate might be half a small potato with fish, eggs, chicken, tofu, or plain Greek yogurt, plus green vegetables. A risky plate might be a huge baked potato covered with butter, cheese, bacon, sour cream, no vegetables, and a sweet drink. The difference is not just the potato, the difference is the whole plate. So before we talk about studies, blood sugar science, resistant starch, or kidney warnings, I want you to remember one sentence. After 60, potatoes can still fit, but only if you treat them as a measured starch, not as an unlimited vegetable. Stay with me, because I'll show you exactly how to eat boiled potatoes, baked potatoes, mashed potatoes, potato salad, breakfast potatoes, potato soup, and French fries in a way that is much gentler for blood sugar. And at the end, I'll give you a 5-question checklist you can use before your next potato meal. Let's begin with the easiest rule. If potato is on the plate, that is usually your main starch for that meal. This one rule can prevent many blood sugar mistakes. If you choose potato, skip the dinner roll. If you choose potato, do not add rice. If you choose potato soup, be careful with crackers or bread beside it. If you eat mashed potatoes, be careful with corn, dessert, and sweet drinks in the same meal. This is not punishment. This is structure, and structure helps you enjoy food without overwhelming your body. Many older adults grew up with potatoes at the center of the dinner table, boiled potatoes with meat, mashed potatoes with gravy, potato soup in winter, potato salad at family gatherings, a baked potato at a restaurant. So I am not here to take away a food that may have been part of your life for decades. I am here to help you eat it in a way your older body can handle better. The first practical method is the boiled potato method. Choose one small potato about the size of a computer mouse, or use half of a medium potato. Wash it well. If you can tolerate the skin, boil it with the skin on, because the skin adds texture and a small amount of fiber. Once it is cooked, keep the portion clear and small. Do not let one potato turn into a large pile on the plate. Now here is the step many people miss. If you can, cook the potato, let it cool, and refrigerate it safely within 2 hours. The next day, eat that small portion cold in a salad or reheat it gently. When cooked starch cools, some of it becomes resistant starch. Resistant starch simply means that part of the starch becomes harder for the body to digest quickly, so it may enter the bloodstream more slowly. In a 2019 randomized crossover study, chilled potatoes produced lower early glucose and insulin responses than freshly boiled potatoes in women with elevated fasting glucose and insulin. At 15 and 30 minutes, glucose was lower by 4.8% and 9.2%, and insulin was lower by 25.8% and 22.6%. But please hear this clearly. Cold potatoes are not magic. They are not a cure for blood sugar. And they do not give permission to eat a huge bowl of potato salad. The benefit depends on the portion, the cooking method, and what sits beside the potato on the plate. A better boiled potato meal might look like this: half a cooled boiled potato, grilled fish, green beans, and a small salad, or one small cooled potato with a boiled egg, cucumber, tomato, and a spoonful of plain Greek yogurt with herbs. That is very different from eating 2 hot potatoes with butter and no vegetables. The potato is not alone. It has protein beside it. It has vegetables beside it. And the portion is controlled. That is what makes the meal safer. Now let's talk about the baked potato method. If you love baked potatoes, you do not need to remove them completely, but you do need to change the size and the toppings. Do not choose the largest potato on the tray. Choose a small one, or bake a medium potato and eat only half. After it is baked, cut it open and avoid turning it into a loaded meal with butter, sour cream, bacon, cheese sauce, and gravy. Those toppings can turn a reasonable potato into a heavy meal very quickly. Instead, try plain Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. Add chives, black pepper, herbs, salsa, steamed broccoli, cottage cheese, tuna, or a small drizzle of olive oil. Then place that potato beside a real protein, such as chicken, fish, eggs, tofu, or lean meat. A better plate might be half a baked potato, a piece of chicken, steamed broccoli, and salad. A risky plate might be one huge baked potato covered with butter, cheese, bacon, sour cream, no vegetables, and a sweet drink. The name is still potato, but the meal is completely different. Blood sugar does not respond only to the word potato. It responds to the whole plate. Here's the first thing I want you to do. The next time you eat a potato, pause before the first bite and look at the plate. Ask yourself, is this potato my starch, or did I add it on top of other starches? That one question can change the whole meal. Now, let's talk about mashed potatoes, because this is where many older adults accidentally eat more than they realize. Mashed potatoes are soft, warm, comforting, and easy to swallow, but because they no longer look like one potato, the portion becomes harder to judge. 1 spoon becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, and before you notice it, half the plate is mashed potato. If you want mashed potatoes, keep the serving small. Think of 2 or 3 regular spoonfuls, not a mountain. You can also make mashed potatoes gentler by mixing potato with cauliflower. Use half potato and half steamed cauliflower. Then mash them together. You still get the comfort of mashed potato, but the starch load per serving is lower. Be careful with butter, cream, cheese, and gravy. A small amount may be fine for some people, but the more you add, the heavier the meal becomes. Try garlic, pepper, herbs, a little olive oil, or plain Greek yogurt for flavor. And once again, mashed potato should not sit alone. A small serving of mashed potato with turkey and cabbage is very different from a large bowl of mashed potato with gravy and bread. If you remember one thing from this section, remember this. With mashed potatoes, the danger is often not the first spoonful. It is the 4th, 5th, and 6th spoonful. Now let's talk about potato salad. Potato salad can be a smart choice or a blood sugar trap, depending on how it is made. A better potato salad starts with cooked potatoes that have been cooled safely in the refrigerator. Use a small portion. Add cucumber, celery, onion, parsley, vinegar, mustard, black pepper, and perhaps a small amount of olive oil or plain Greek yogurt. This kind of potato salad has more texture, more flavor, and usually less heaviness. But the old-fashioned creamy version can become a problem when it contains a lot of mayonnaise, sugar, sweet relish, bacon, and a large serving size. So if you enjoy potato salad, do not only ask, is it cold? Ask, how much am I eating? What dressing is in it? Is there protein with it? Are there vegetables on the plate? Am I eating bread or dessert beside it? Because the body responds to the whole meal, not just the temperature of the potato. Food safety also matters here, especially after 60. Foodsafety.gov advises older adults to refrigerate perishable foods within 2 hours, and leftover foods should be reheated thoroughly to 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius. So if you cook potatoes ahead of time, do it safely. Cook them. Divide them into shallow containers. Refrigerate them within 2 hours. Use them within a few days. And reheat only the portion you plan to eat. Now, let's talk about breakfast potatoes. This is one of the hidden blood sugar problems I see often. Many breakfast plates are starch stacked on starch. Fried potatoes, toast, jam, orange juice, and a sweet coffee drink. Even if the meal does not look like dessert, it may still behave like a large glucose load. A better breakfast could be eggs or tofu, cooked vegetables, and a small portion of cooled and reheated potato. No juice, no toast at the same meal. If you want fruit, choose a small portion of whole fruit instead of juice. For example, try 1 egg, spinach, mushrooms, and a few small pieces of reheated potato. That is still breakfast, but it is a very different blood sugar story from a large plate of fried potatoes with white toast and orange juice. Now let's talk about potato soup. Potato soup sounds gentle. It sounds warm and homemade, but it can become very starchy if the soup is mostly potato, cream, and then bread or crackers on the side. If you make potato soup, use less potato and more non-starchy vegetables, such as celery, leek, cabbage, cauliflower, spinach, zucchini, or a reasonable amount of carrot. Add protein if possible, such as chicken, a small amount of beans or lentils, or plain Greek yogurt stirred in after cooking. And if the soup already contains potato, do not automatically add bread, crackers, and dessert. The potato in the soup may already be your starch. Now we need to talk about French fries. A large 2025 study published in the BMJ followed 205,107 men and women from 3 United States cohorts and documented 22,299 cases of type 2 diabetes over more than 5.1 million person-years of follow-up. The study found that higher intake of French fries, but not combined baked, boiled, or mashed potatoes, was associated with a higher risk of type 2 diabetes. A BMJ summary reported that eating 3 servings of French fries a week was associated with a 20% higher risk of type 2 diabetes, while similar amounts of boiled, baked, or mashed potatoes did not substantially increase risk. This is a very important distinction. The message is not that every potato is dangerous. The message is that fries are a very different food from a small boiled potato on a balanced plate. French fries are usually cooked in oil, salted heavily, eaten quickly, and served in portions that are difficult to control. They often come with burgers, ketchup, white bread, and sweet drinks. So after 60, fries should be occasional, not a weekly habit. If you currently eat fries several times a week, do not panic. Start by reducing the frequency. Change fries from a routine food into an occasional food. If you want potatoes more often, choose boiled, baked, cooled, or lightly roasted potatoes in a smaller portion. The BMJ-related summary also reported that replacing 3 weekly servings of French fries with whole grains was associated with a 19% lower type 2 diabetes rate, and replacing total potatoes with whole grains was associated with an 8% lower rate. So if potatoes, especially fries, show up too often in your week, replacing some of those servings with oats, barley, lentils, or whole grain bread may be a better long-term pattern. Now here's the second thing I want you to do. Think back to the last time you ate potatoes. Was there another starch on the same plate? Bread, rice, pasta, crackers, corn, or dessert? If the answer is yes, that may be the first habit to change, not by becoming afraid of food, but by noticing the pattern. Now that you know how to build a safer potato plate, let me explain why these small changes matter so much after 60. This is where blood sugar, muscle loss, insulin resistance, medication, and kidney function all come together. Potatoes contain carbohydrate, and carbohydrate breaks down into glucose. Diabetes Canada explains that the glycemic index ranks carbohydrate-containing foods by how quickly they raise blood sugar after eating. That does not mean potatoes are the same as candy. They are not. Potatoes contain nutrients, including potassium and vitamin C. But if blood sugar is your concern, the potato must be counted as the starch portion of the meal. This matters because blood sugar problems are very common in older adults. The CDC reported that in 2023, about 40.1 million people in the United States had diagnosed or undiagnosed diabetes. Among adults aged 65 or older, about 31.3 million had prediabetes, which was 52.1% of that age group. So when we talk about potatoes after 60, we are not talking about a tiny issue. We are talking about a food many older adults eat often in an age group where blood sugar problems are already extremely common. After 60, the body may not handle starch the same way it did at 30 or 40. Muscle mass may be lower, activity may be lower, insulin may not work as efficiently, sleep may be lighter. Some medications may affect appetite, fluid balance, or blood sugar. That is why the answer is not simply, can I eat potatoes? The better question is, how much potato? Cooked how? Eaten with what? And what happens to my blood sugar afterward? If your clinician has asked you to monitor blood sugar, potatoes can become a useful test food. You might check before the meal and again about 2 hours after the first bite, if that is the schedule recommended for you. But do not just write potato, write the details. Half a cooled potato, reheated with salmon and green beans, 1 large baked potato with butter and no vegetables, mashed potatoes, gravy, roll, and dessert. These details matter because they show patterns. You may discover that a small cooled potato at lunch is fine, but a large hot potato at dinner sends your glucose high. You may discover that potatoes are easier when you eat vegetables and protein first. You may discover that fries are your biggest problem, not boiled potatoes. That is how you move from fear to knowledge. But please listen carefully if you use insulin or medications that can cause low blood sugar. Do not make major carbohydrate changes without speaking with your doctor, diabetes educator, or pharmacist. The American Diabetes Association's 2026 Standards of Care notes that older adults with diabetes have a greater risk of hypoglycemia and recommends routine attention to hypoglycemia in older adults. Hypoglycemia means blood sugar dropping too low. In an older person, that can cause shakiness, sweating, confusion, weakness, dizziness, or a fall. So if medication is involved, food changes need to be safe and personal. Now let's talk about kidney disease, because potatoes have another issue besides blood sugar. Potatoes are naturally high in potassium. Potassium is important for the heart, muscles, and nerves. But if the kidneys are not clearing potassium well, potassium can build up in the blood and become dangerous. The National Kidney Foundation explains that people with chronic kidney disease may need to watch potassium intake, and foods with 200 milligrams or more potassium per serving are generally considered high potassium foods. So if your doctor has told you that your potassium is high or that you need a low potassium diet, do not follow a general potato plan from the internet without checking with your healthcare team. Ask your doctor or renal dietitian whether potatoes fit your plan. Ask how much you can have. Ask whether soaking, leaching, or double boiling is appropriate for you. This is why simple internet rules can be dangerous. For one senior, a small potato may be reasonable. For another senior with advanced kidney disease and high potassium, the same potato may need to be limited or prepared differently. The right answer depends on the person. Now, I want to speak to the person who feels guilty every time they eat potatoes. Please do not turn food into shame. Shame does not improve blood sugar. Clarity does. A small cooled potato with fish and vegetables is not the same as fries eaten 3 times a week. Half a baked potato with cottage cheese and salad is not the same as a huge loaded baked potato at 9 p.m. A measured starch inside a balanced plate is not the same as an unlimited side dish beside 3 other starches. The food may have the same name, but the body may experience it very differently. After 60, healthy eating is not about chasing perfect rules. It is about reducing the mistakes that repeat often. If you eat fries 3 times a week, reduce them. If you eat a huge potato at dinner, make it half. If you eat potatoes alone, add protein and vegetables. If you eat potatoes with bread, rice, and dessert, choose one starch instead. If you always eat hot potatoes, try cooking and cooling them safely. Small changes repeated over months can matter more than one dramatic diet that lasts 6 days. Now here's the third thing I want you to do. If you are comfortable sharing, tell me in the comments how you usually eat potatoes: boiled, baked, mashed, fried, or in potato salad. And if you have ever checked your blood sugar after eating them, share what you noticed. Your experience may help another older adult understand their own plate more clearly. Before we finish, I promised you the 5-question potato checklist. Use this before your next potato meal. Question 1, is this potato portion small enough? Question 2, is it boiled, baked, cooled, or fried? Question 3, do I have protein on the plate? Question 4, do I have non-starchy vegetables on the plate? Question 5, am I eating another starch in the same meal? If most of your answers are good, that potato meal is probably more balanced. If the portion is large, the potato is fried, there is no protein, there are no vegetables, and there is bread or dessert beside it, that meal is much more likely to be a blood sugar problem. So can you eat potatoes after 60? For many people, yes, but not as an unlimited vegetable, not deep fried every week, not piled beside bread, rice, crackers, and dessert, not loaded with heavy toppings and eaten alone. Eat potatoes as a measured starch. Choose a small portion, cook them simply, cool them when you can, pair them with protein and vegetables. Avoid stacking starches, and let your own blood sugar numbers teach you what your body can handle. That is how to eat potatoes after 60, not with fear, with knowledge, with balance, and with a plan that protects your blood sugar.